Morning, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Coffee Tea, You and Me with Coach Power. So good to see you. So good to be here. So good to be on this wonderful day. Today's the first day we've had a break from the weather. In the last couple of days, it's been rainy and cold and all that stuff. And now the sun is shining. It's a beautiful day outside. I can't wait to get out there in it. And I'm going to keep today's show brief and short for that reason, so we can get on with a beautiful day. I hope you guys have had a wonderful, fantastic week. I love coming together with you every single Friday and creating opportunities for you to think about how you do business and how you do life, maybe even in a better way. Today, we've been on a series of communications and dialogue about winning big in 2025, the VisionQuest way. And right, this series, we're on episode number 12 of the series. And at this point, we start to talk about some things that are very, very important when it comes to learning how to develop community, right? We talked in the previous weeks about how important it is to understand the benefit of cooperation. And then weeks after that, we started talking about what it means to establish and understand convergence of various different ideas that come together. Today, we're going to begin to cap that discussion off of community development building and what it takes to be a great community leader by talking to you about this concept of collaboration. When I first heard that concept and thought about it, like, what is collaboration? What does it mean to be in partnership with someone? What does it mean to truly merge collective talent and gifts and treasures in such a way as you create something explosive and something new? We covered some of that understanding under last week's episode. Last couple of weeks, as a matter of fact, we talked about synergy and convergence, right? Um, but it's important to know that this collaboration idea kind of flies in the face of a lot of what a lot of us were taught about the rugged individual and this concept that you should do it your own way, by yourself, all alone, and trust no one but yourself. These ideas are largely, I won't even say outdated. They were always very, very difficult for individuals or groups to begin to embrace because it encourages you to pit yourself against others and to pit others against each other and use the theory of competition as the greatest reward for best results. And I'm going to demonstrate over the next couple of weeks how that false narrative has negatively impacted leadership and has negatively impacted communities who are under direction and guidance of leaders, quite frankly. And it hasn't necessarily been done correctly. And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about collaboration. We're going to talk about what collaboration means and what it has meant, and from some of the greatest minds that have ever existed, especially in modern history. And then we're going to talk about this idea of collaboration and building communities from a point of view of the mindset that one literally has to embrace in order to get this right. And so let's get right into it. Let's get right into it today, and let's begin to talk about some of the most valuable aspects of collaboration. But we're going to do it through the benefit of some of the greatest thought leaders that have happened over the last century, maybe two. But I want to preface it with these thoughts in this statement, right? Many great minds. There have been so many people who have shared wisdom on what we consider teamwork or collective success. And it's from their words that we get a sense for not just what collaboration means, but what it feels like to be in true partnership, what it looks like to have an understanding of what association and alliance might mean and how it might be expressed. Truly, the framework for how we should consider the spirit of cooperation is so important. And these words that I'm going to share with you help us get a greater understanding of what it means, literally how relevant it is and how significant it is to really be in collaboration and what collaboration looks and feels like. So let's start with Helen Keller. Helen Keller said, alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. Her words emphasize the power of teamwork, not the power of the individual. Yes, it's true. Helen Keller is a modern example of heroic deeds and ideas as she worked through all of the issues of her disabilities, or I would say even different abilities, to become an icon of possibility in our society. But the thing is, she did not do it alone. She had to have teachers. She had to have helpers. She had to have people who provided um, not just their talents, but the support for those talents to be shared with her so that she can then benefit and then learn to communicate. And in learning to communicate, then being able to learn how to learn. And this learning created a little genius in our community, in our society, that has a perspective that the society has never before heard from until they were able to unlock the keys to her understanding, her ability to communicate effectively. But in her acknowledgement, this power of teamwork, she's able to show that progress is always amplified when people work together. Let me say that again. Progress is always amplified when people work together. Now, Helen Keller wasn't the only genius who talked about collaboration. We got to go to Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of what we know is the telephone, right? Bell says great discoveries and improvements invariably involve the cooperation of many minds. Again, highlighting that innovation of any type rarely, if ever, happens in isolation. You really have to glean from the best ideas of others and figure out ways to bring those ideas together to emerge with a new or variant idea that literally can change the world and become great, right? But you have to get those diverse perspectives. You got to get those ideas from the old and the new. You have to get those ideas from the young and the perfect, right? You have to get those ideas from those who have great experiences and those who just have a great handle on the tactics of the moment. And when you get all those ideas together, you can then innovate. You can then create something um, that can only happen when you bring these ideas together. We talked about that a couple weeks ago when we talked about synergy. We talked about convergence. When you bring the ideas together, how powerful it can be. But it's also very, very difficult. It requires a level of communication. It requires a level of empathy. It requires a level of understanding that is rare in leadership today. Because most of the leaders we have today tend to focus on a my way or the highway type of approach. They tend to focus on their understanding of what things should be without a lot of attention being paid to those who are at the ground level actually making things happen. And I think that's a sad shame. Michael Jordan reminds us that talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence win championships. Talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence win the championships. So if you want to get to the top of the game, if you truly want to be a team that's elevated to a level of excellence over and over and over again, till you can experience championship level success, you can't just rely on individual skill. You can't just rely on the collective talents of people. You have to marshal those talents so that those talents come together and work together strategically in a way that's not only intelligent, but in a way that's shared and really, really embraces these collaborative ideas that we're sharing with you today. It is no question why even Phil Jackson, a coach of Michael Jordan, would say the strength of a team is each individual member, but the strength of each member is the team. Phil reminds us that there's a symbiotic relationship between individuals and the teams they work with. When those individuals and those teams come together and there's a strong fit, the teams are so much better. And their collective identity becomes a single identity in terms of how they express themselves and how they work together because there's an extreme amount of trust and an extreme amount of value for each particular member that comes to the table. Not just the value in their skills, but in the value of the collective work that they could do together. Now, if you've never seen a great team come together, if you've never been on a great team as it comes together, you might not understand what it looks like and feels like when that happens, especially when that happens under your leadership or under your facilitation, so to speak. One of the greatest examples I could give, and I could give you 1,000 examples from my own particular life, but one of my favorite examples is leading my high school drill team, ROTC, junior ROTC drill team to a national championship. And it just so happened that there was a coming together, there was a convergence of a lot of different ideas at that time that allowed this to happen. First of all, our ROTC unit at Occidental High School grew almost 300% in 1 year. Because in 1 year, we went from a high school that only accepted 10th graders to a high school that now accepted ninth graders. Not only did we accept ninth and 10th graders, but we accepted ninth and 10th graders to begin what we called um, the talented and gifted program, or the what was that called at the time? Um, Science and technology sort of focused school. And so the ninth and 10th graders that we had brought in were all super, super focused, super, super intelligent, and they weren't from like the normal population. We shipped them in from at least halfway around the county. The other science and technology students went to another science and technology center that was up north of the county called Eleanor Roosevelt at the time. So there was a convergence of that. Then there's a brand new administration came in. So we had a brand new administrator, brand new principal, brand new focus on the Science and Technology Center from Oxon Hill. Lots more students, high level talent in terms of the type of students, and the ROTC units had just gotten funding based on the number of students that were part of the unit. And so, because the Air Force released more funding, we were able to take on more students. And because of that, the drill team sizes grew from very small, uh, very insular groups to larger groups. And we had to separate the drill teams out into three different drill teams. Maybe four, no, it was four. It was four different drill teams. And so we all registered to go to drill team competitions. And basically, we created an internal competition between the drill teams of the school and in the outside world. So we were competing with each other every day in practice, and we'd see each other in practice, and we'd hear about what was going on in each other's units and so on and so forth. And we used that information to sharpen us, to make us even better, because we had this internal competitiveness going on that created even a stronger element to the presentations that we were able to give. So much so that when we got to the national championship, not only did my team win the national championship, all the other teams in the unit were number second, number third, number four, or they were number one in their categories because they had different categories and so on and so forth. But we swept it. Um, and the school got highlighted because of the elevation of that particular strength. Now, here's the point. We were able to take advantage of all that had gone on to help create the energy in the moment. We had support from um, our unit and our unit leaders. We had support from the school and the school's ability to help us, you know, really highlight and sponsor some of the greatest achievements that the school had ever achieved, not just in ROTC, but almost in every category you could think of. And we're taking advantage of all the new energy. We didn't have a whole lot of blueprint from previous administrations or previous uh, issues to deal with. And so we were able to come out with some amazing things. And if you look at the history of the school at that time, you're going to see a lot of what is now stapled relationships or opportunities were built. Organizations were built, ideas were built, strong leaders were built, came out of it because of it. And we still get together today to celebrate those moments. But I wanted to highlight that for you for a minute to understand that it doesn't take a lot of history or even expertise to bring magic and make magic happen, to bring great things together. Henry Ford is the last person I'm going to mention to you, and he said something which I think is really significant. If everyone is moving forward together, then success takes care of itself. Let me repeat that. If everyone is moving forward together, then success takes care of itself. You see, Ford was a pioneer in industrial innovation. I don't know that we would have been, we are talking about the United States of America, would have been as strong in the Industrial Revolution without the efforts of men like Henry Ford. He was able to understand that a synchronized effort leads to a seamless progress toward achievement. When you bring great people and great ideas together, what comes out of it, if it's done well, is synchronicity, a synergy, a climactic opportunity that leads to progress quickly, that leads to progress that's not hampered by a lot of drama and a lot of um, political grandstanding and so on and so forth. Because it's too much mutual respect and too much mutual passion that's being shared and understood and then worked with and used. All the quotes that I've shared with you underscore some key ideas about collaboration. They underscore how important collaboration is to foster innovation, resilience, and success. But there are some things that a collaborative leader needs to truly embrace in terms of their mindset if they're going to get this done and do this well. Are you ready for what the collaborative leaders have to truly invest in themselves in terms of their mindset? It turns out there's three key ideas. The first idea that they must embrace, and it must come from the heart, is this idea of inclusivity. If you aren't open to others' ideas and their diverse perspectives, you're going to kill innovation and creativity before you even get started. My friends would say you're going to be stuck on stupid from the jump, right? So it's important that as you move forward with your team, that you don't generate all the plans and all of the strategy out of one mind and one mindset without the consideration of all of those that will have to engage, those that will have to support, those that will have to see and appreciate and participate. You want as many ideas on the table as possible from many different aspects of any type of stakeholder that there is, um, before you formulate the final strategy. The second thing that, in terms of mindset, that you have to have is you have to be adaptable. You can you can't really embrace ideas of others without being adaptable. You know, you're not going to be able to pivot to new ideas that come up. You're not going to be able to use them and develop them in a way that can allow those ideas to flourish if you're not adaptable. Adaptability is such a key to becoming victorious in the collaborative space because with adaptability comes actual flexibility, and it'll open you to change and adjusting whatever strategic thoughts or ideas based on the feedback that you get from evolving circumstances. You simply can't do without it. You won't have the right mindset if you don't have an adaptable one. The third nature of the collaborative leader's mindset is you must have a trust building mindset. When you have a trust building mindset, you are more focused on creating an environment where people feel safe doing their best work, expressing their best ideas, making sure that they show up fully without fear of any type of judgment. When this is done, what you're effectively doing is you're enhancing the creative nature of every individual and every person that you get a chance to play with in your space. Not only that, what you're doing by building the trust is you're opening up the space for clear and transparent communication across channels. This ensures alignment, it helps prevent misunderstandings, and it truly strengthens what we would call team cohesion. These are all the great ideas that leaders have to embrace if they want to create communities of high performing, engaged teams that work together toward meaningful outcomes. Now, next week, we're going to go even deeper into the collaborative understanding. And we're going to talk about the benefits that each and every collaborator can depend on and make sure that they understand those benefits so they can program themselves and know when those benefits have been received. I hope you guys are having a great time. I know I am. Um, I'm going to move on. Like I said, told you we're going to have a really short show today because we got some things to do and we're going to get out of here. But I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I know I have. And we're going to pause our conversation again until next week. We dig even deeper into collaboration for community development. All righty. Bye now.